Folks, welcome back to the CCL Bravo stream. Now looking on through the series, we just saw a 3-1 against Penn State and their opponents, Kennesaw State. Now we're heading into the Northeast Tier 1 division to look at New Haven Chargers versus the Western Mustangs. And of course, we got to announce, Mick's joining me on the desk, taking over for Rome. Welcome to the desk, Mick. How you doing tonight?
I'm feeling outstanding, man. I'm ready to go ahead and get right back into some college COD action. There's been a lot of Valorant here recently, a lot of Halo, a lot of different games, but Call of Duty, it's always home. It's always going to be that little ground that you come back to every single week and you're excited to do, especially in an atmosphere like this.
And as we said, we're heading into a new series as well to look at a series that I'm excited for because it involves Western, a Canadian team. We'd love to see Western, not too far down the road for myself as well. But going up against the New Haven Chargers, a team that I haven't been able to see just yet. Let's take a look at this head-to-head, Mick, and really pick apart these two squads.
And even then, I haven't really seen either one of them. Sure, you can know Western because of how close they are to home for you. And New Haven, they're kind of a newcomer for me as well. But obviously, already a great start to the season for both of them to make themselves into the split two with a very, very positive record. Already an 8-2 and 9-2 respectively. And then just look at those stats, man. Just across the board, just out-freaking standing. Some great hard point. I'm expecting some outstanding matches tonight, at least on that mode specifically. But Search and Destroy, also kind of equally as distributed. I mean, just across the board. Control, obviously, West getting themselves a little bit more of an advantage there. But, I mean, heck, if you're the likes of New Haven, you don't really get there to play those kind of matches too much. You're not really too concerned about those kinds of matchups.
No, you're not too concerned at all. Both these teams have been through the ringer. I mean, 9-2 for Western, 8-2 for New Haven. It hasn't been straightforward to get where they are, but now it's time to dig deep and kind of find your best inside of Stage 2. So let's introduce this home team. Let's introduce the New Haven Chargers. We're looking at Zin, Shadow, BPN, and Carnage. I'm excited to see what they have.
I am as well, man. I mean, New Haven, obviously, sitting there, you can look at the standings and alone, and you can tell what kind of players these guys are, and obviously just the way they played thus far. And I want to specifically see what they can bring to the table. I want to see what kind of twist-ups they can provide here in the split two, what they've started to work on a little bit more, what kind of synergies we can see that have developed over the course of the season, because knowing these two squads, we're probably going to see them again. So this is going to be a great little introduction for them, at least for us, too, if anybody else has kind of been keeping their eyes on the guys. And even then, obviously, if you're here in the chat, you're probably a fan of either one team or the other. So you can go ahead and let us know exactly how hyped you are for these players to really have themselves a spotlight here.
Yeah, and as we introduce their opponents in Western, the away team of the day, having a substitute as well. Very different squad that I'm used to seeing. So we got Mojo, Zuzi, Saloom, Pookie. Big notable player missing is Shady, who's been a top performer for this squad, and now missing him. I'm curious if that's really going to shake things up, if you know, having this substitute coming in maybe is to look to improve going into Stage 2, a last-minute change. It's curious to see what we're going to get, because losing Shady is going to be a big hit to the squad.
I'm most definitely with you. I mean, that was kind of a big hit to me as well when we got told that news, knowing that, I mean, you sit there and you play so much of the season with such a kind of coordinated four squad that when you get that feel, how many subs do you have really? I mean, is everything sliding into place? Are you sure that player's going to slide in and sit there and feel the shoes of whether or not it's an SMG or an AR? Or do you go ahead and play for their comfort role and get somebody to play that flex and then switch things up? How much will that really discombobulate the rest of the team and really show where they can have their lacklusterness? And even then, this also gives an opportunity for these subs, this kind of night right here, to say, look, this is my time to shine. This is my time to step up, to show that I don't need to take anybody's place or anything, but I want to be a very, very solid placeholder whenever things really do fall through.
It's definitely going to be that, but let's set the mood now for this series, Mick, because when we're looking at this, it's definitely going to be something to look at how kind of straightforward the start of this series is going to be. You got Tuscan and Tuscan, a double dose to open this one up. But then we head to Gavitu Control. It's going to flip the script for the Tuscans. We head to the secondary control, so we don't get 3 Tuscans in a row. But then you look at if this gets pushed the distance, and we get a double dose of Berlin. So it's really a Tuscan and Berlin sandwich right now. Gavitu's the meat of things.
Yeah, most definitely is, and I think honestly that's the best way to describe it. Looking at it as the meat of things, looking at these players go ahead and play on Gavitu, but even then we can't really harbor down too much on that just yet. We got to see how these players make an introduction on Tuscan, knowing that this map is going to be seen twice here in a row on the likes of Hardpoint, then on Search and Destroy. I want to see these teams' diversity. I want to see how well they can switch things up, change the pace of game, say, look, we can go ahead and speed things up, go ahead and rush the site, time in and time out, just aggressively over and over and over again. Just repetition is the name of the game. Getting those reps in, finding the way you can go ahead and find those sight lines to cut off and make sure to choke a team out. But even then, you can't play that same game when it comes on to Search and Destroy because you just don't have as many lives as you would in Hardpoint, which is unlimited to 1. So as we already sit there and see ourselves get into this game, a little bit of an introduction, we can also see a little bit of an influence going to the middle of the map here for the side of New West.
Saloom gets down. A little bit of bait for Pokey, and what a snap from Pokey as well. It's quick 2 down. We're going to turn things around into this hill, but even New Haven, they get the initial time. They slay out through the middle of the map, and Shadow's still alive on this point. A little bit of help as well. 4 down for Western. It's going to be the go-ahead for BPR. Now push into Church. Takes down Saloom. They flip things out. Now New Haven to get the initial time in P1, and they're looking for the setup at P2 as well.
The most definitely are. I mean, you can already see the stationary here from New Haven to go ahead and get themselves some time on the board. 26 seconds already standing, but Western to have an answer, not really the most instantaneous one of all, but you sit there, you grab yourself at least 10 seconds, and that's what you're hoping for. But problem is, there in the back, you can already see Zen trying to go ahead and have a little bit of a setup, trying to grab some kills as well, but can only manage 1. So as the rest of the team makes themselves across the map, goes ahead and sets up for these little bit of cutoff. So long as you got 1 player already sitting on site, you're not really too stressed out about this. You can already see Shadow, once again, not over pushing these spawns, not making sure to get them out of a line, but you've got the rest of the team definitely playing around you and just executing time on top of it.
Carnage in a position to shut down these rotations even more. You do get a spawn in the back for player number 6, Pokey, looking to stay alive now as he gets spot out. The information is going to be fed. Still squad spawns for Western, so they're still very much into things. Pokey's going to shut down Shadow from behind, allows the rest of the team to get into position, but while this is happening, New Haven, they're still collecting time inside this P2, so they're definitely in the better position right now. Western finally gets players off of this hill. It's a quick 3 down, and that should be able to convert 4 time. Not that they got 4 players down this last 17 seconds. I'm surprised New Haven's even taking a shot at this.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there. I mean, a little bit of a hesitancy here when it comes around to getting onto that site. I mean, New Haven obviously having themselves a lead, but it's not a very comfortable one when they definitely could have had them shoes already kind of put onto them and tied up as well. I mean, absolutely just laced up, but you can already see New Haven looking to lace up as well. Going ahead, trying to find that capitalization, trying to get across the map, but with this P3 already coming up and being active as well, New Haven is already on the prowl. They're looking to set up for this, and you can see the kind of stationary placement they got around it. But you can already see Mojo has the reek and find that 1 kill, and even then brings out all the utility to try pop and find himself maybe some free kills and crowd control, but it just can't follow through. So already 58, make that to 32. It's going to be pretty even standing this far, and I really want to see how P4 switches things up, but we still got 30 seconds left on this one.
Yeah. Mustangs, do you want to hit this? It looks like it's a yes for the last remaining time. You don't want the Chargers to get any closer to 100 points after this hill 3. Zuzi's going to take the player out from the inside, clears things out. Zin hits the deck, looking to stay alive. In the back, hops up, tries to find Pokey, but it's up to Shadow now to lock things down. And the returning players from Carnage able to make it done when Shadow couldn't. So scrap time still goes the way of the Chargers. And now a big fight on the rotation. BPR taking out Zuzi. That's completely going to draw these players from the Mustangs away from that church and allow the Chargers to start setting up in position to collapse.
Yeah, you can already see him looking to set up for that. I mean, backing up towards Church, playing for these spawns, hoping the teammates are going to come out, but instead you just see a whole influx of these Western players trying to get across the map, trying to go ahead and surround these guys of New Haven like a pack of wolves, but it doesn't really seem it can really come out into fruition just yet. So you want to go ahead and see whether or not they can make the plays, but Carnage already having himself a fried spree. That's going to be a kill streak now in hand to be working with as well. So it's going to be a great little play to go ahead and lock down that P1 once you get back around there. But as it stands right now, you're holding down P4. You're not worried about P1. You're holding on to that. You're playing the game slow and setting. You're finding the correct kills as it just capitalizes, finds another one as it goes ahead and elongates that lead now to 108 to 38.
Chargers, they look on top of things right now. And Carnage on 6 in a row, looking for that glide bomb. A couple players to go up against inside this rotation so far. Western's the first ones there, and Pookie takes down Carnage before that glide bomb can be tucked into the pockets of these players. But you do have a pinch out of BPR. Might be able to set things up here. Mojo gets the first shot, shuts him down. Things get a little shaky now. All eyes on the patio here. Pookie over aggressive here is going to be able to be good for 1. Zin for the trade, but numbers now to the Mustangs for this setup. Is they're getting a good time here so far. Here come the nades. Here come the Suns. Pookie or Zuzi set up with Mojo. They get 2 down. Make it 3 down with a nade out of Pookie. And the last player is all the way down. Saloom's going to pick this one up. Mustangs, they are looking incredible in this rotation.
Yeah, great setup from him and a great answer as well. I mean, going ahead, you see the massive lead we saw earlier, already 100 to the likes of 30. A 70-point lead now diminishing down even more so into a 50. So, I mean, a great standing for Western to go ahead and have an answer to make themselves relevant in this fight. But the thing is, they got to double down. They got to find a little bit more time. They got to go ahead and set up for these rotations because they can't fight for scrap time every single minute of the day. So you can already see one player staying towards that P5, looking to have the setup, and the rest trying to push towards the middle of the map and grab all that influence. But they just can't find it there. Carnage is already set up towards the middle, able to find at least one there on the top, but looking for a second one as well. Ooh. But Saloom, already, he doesn't have to reload if you are. So he finds those shots, finds that kill as well, and even then, can you find some time to back it up? And that's going to be New Haven already on, stationed up, and ready to just howl.
3 down for the Chargers. In looking to cut off some of these players for the Mustangs inside the hill. Setup's going to be here. Here's to see how the Chargers are going to run at things. It's a 4-on-4 now for this fight. They have control of the middle of the map, so this collapse is going to be detrimental now to this hold for the Chargers to see if they can cut off this Mustang hold. But Pookie's good for 2. Shadow trying to work around in the back end here. Carnage finds a nade inside this hill for Pookie's hand, but Mustangs, they shut things down. One last hit from BPR clears this off for scrap time, but that is a good amount if you're the Western, or if you're the Mustangs, to pick up there. A nice 30 points to bring you up to 109.
And even then, we see the Mustangs having such a better stance when it comes around to getting themselves on the side. They are so much more preemptive about it. They're so much more proactive about it. They go ahead and find the first couple seconds, or at least they set up across the map to make sure to create those stalls for the other side of Western Esports. The problem is their breach hasn't looked nearly as good, and we can see Western having a much more efficient time when it comes around to getting back on site, getting back into that fight, finding these correct setups, surrounding the enemy, and making the plays. We can already see Pookie looking for one, found it, but can't really follow through with the second. But New Haven, knowing that side is now clear, you have the spawns so close to you for the side of Western, you got to hold things out almost perfectly here to grab the rest of this 30.
Now, this is a very scrappy hill in the first set. Is looking to stay true to that into the second. A break from Mustangs, 3 down to make it happen. They have control of patio. They have control of the hill. But look at the Chargers. They get the grace with the spawns in the back, so they're going to set up for a pinch into this hill. It's 3 to answer back for the break back in. Last scrap seconds going again to the Chargers here. Western, they spawn up on the opposite side of the map, and now Chargers look to make the heads-up play to see if they can cut off these spawns that were mounted for the Mustangs, but so far hasn't amounted to anything. Zuzi sitting pretty inside this hill, does go down, but 4 down to keep Mustangs into things.
And great exchanges from the back out of Mojo. Just going ahead, playing that AR station, just making sure to play back, not getting too aggressive, just playing for those reloads, having nearby cover to be working off of, and the rest of the team is going to do the job for you. They're going to push up with those SMGs. They're going to stay in their respective positions, and you're not even accumulating time. You're not even stressed about it, so unless you can find the kills. But instead, Carnage now makes the closure, makes the points happen as well, so you can see the rest of New Haven trying to go ahead and work off this. They can't grab themselves the rest of this 30, so long as they just hold things down. And there you already got it. Zen in the back, making sure to go ahead and take a note out of Mojo's playbook and say, I can do that too.
You definitely can. But the Chargers maintaining their lead with scrap time has been enough for them to keep 1 foot ahead of the Mustangs so far, Mick. If the Mustangs want to bring this back, they need a good, solid chunk of time into one of these hills so far, and it just hasn't been so far. I mean, scrappy out of Chargers, and that's how they like it. They eclipse 200 points. They have an 80-point lead again going into this Churchill, and look at the slaying. It's coming out in their face as well. In their turn, this time around, BPR looking for the kills around the outside. Takes down Mojo on the inside. It is Mustang players, but here come the rest of the Chargers. Oh, 3 down. Make it 4. They hold on for now, but off the respawns, the Chargers spawning up, down into Monument, so they're going to be able to hit this again.
Yeah, they most definitely will, but I mean, there's only 30 seconds left on the clock, so they don't have enough time to really execute this and have themselves a second go-around now. I mean, third time could be the charm, but they're not going to have much time to work with if they do find that charm. So you don't see them finding that closure. You don't see them getting on the site. You don't see them really making the efforts there to close this out and find themselves that 30-point lead to really make themselves a guaranteed win thus far. So still 43 points required for the likes of New Haven to close out this at least first map, but I mean, Western really making an answer for themselves, doing a great job holding out this church, finding all the necessary kills. Things, are they ready for the rotation? Well, that's pretty hard to answer when you already see Shadow looking to go ahead and set up towards the middle of the map, find these kills, make sure that if anybody does push, he's there with the frag grenade, he can just go ahead and throw it right up.
Yeah, Mick, I mean, this was the Mustangs' best hill in the first set of rotations, but that's because they were the first ones here. Let's see if they can bully their way in. Saloom, good for 2 to spearhead this attack. Carnage cutting them off when they go in, but numbers now is allowing Mustangs to overwhelm the pressure into the hill. They take things over, and now that's going to be the Chargers looking to re-break it, but nobody in control of this hill. It's still going to be a bloodbath, a war in the inside of maps to make sure who gets control But 3 go down for the Mustangs. Still some pressure on the outside. Still a battle ensuing throughout this whole thing. A double nade from BPR. Ooh. That's going to open it up. Can you find this last player? Saloom trying to stretch things out, but he goes down. And BPR hot force spree to open things up into maps and get his team on the inside.
Oh. And I guarantee you didn't expect that double swing there already. Just go ahead and beat around Church. You didn't expect the likes of Western just go ahead and keep on fighting and fighting and fighting and pushing for a site that only has 5 seconds left. When you know across the map, P1 is now coming back to life. So you've got to win out these fights. You can already see BPR going ahead, being preemptive about it, finding those kills, making sure that you create that breathing room for the rest of your team. And the rest of the squad is just going to set up towards the middle. Try and buy it out that time. Even if you lose that fight, you only need 7 seconds now, so long as you win those fights. But BPR actually does fall a little bit short there. So Carnage needs to have that follow-up, needs to make sure to win out this double kill. And now the streaks we saw come into his pocket earlier, finally coming out to play, and possibly going to go ahead and create so much room to go ahead and close this game.
They only need 3 seconds. They clear out Zuzi. Last chance for Western to get into the hill, but they don't have anybody in a position to touch. So 250 to 181. The Chargers, they're going to lead this series 1-0 to open up on Tuscan Hardpoint. And a big one at that. I mean, the Mustangs, they looked good throughout that. They were keeping it competitive through certain kind of hills, but in the overall scheme of things, when it all boiled down to the fundamentals, I mean, the Chargers, they were doing everything one step better.
And even then, I think it also comes down to what they were really doing better, which is slaying out. They were finding constant kills. They were keeping the pressure off the site. And anytime they really gave up the site, there was almost enough time to really compensate for it. Say, look, we have ourselves such a massive lead. Don't stress out about it. Set up for that next site. We have an advantage. Every single site we have been on there first. And we sit there and do a great job of spreading across the map. And when we go for a breach, we can't really do that whole collaborative thing all that well. But so long as we can just make sure to get ourselves a lead and we can go ahead and really just play off of that and say if we do mess up that breach, if we really don't get onto that site, we still have an extra, say, 40 seconds to be botting out, saying let's just set up for the next one. Let's get some kills and make sure to trap them in their spawn, essentially, where they just can't play the game anymore.
Oh, and everything is kind of interesting when you're looking into these teams from stage one because the Mustangs, they didn't have a very tough division, in my opinion, when you look at things. You had the Mixmaster Marauders, who looked good 9-0. You had Brock, who was great in your division as well, sitting 9-2, and you had Fanshawe Fuel 9-2 as well. So I think in that division, it's not the strongest division. I mean, you come out on top definitely for sure, but when you're comparing it to a division that New Haven came out with when they got SoCo, Esports, and Bay State ahead of them, I mean, in general, they've had a strong division to go through. And coming out in number 3, 8-2, when you have the likes of Bay State to go up against, I mean, you have a strong team to learn from. You have good VOD to go over, and realistically, they have been making those improvements going into stage 2 now, and their hard points, they look great, especially against the Mustangs today.
They most definitely did. Even then, the Mustangs were still making themselves relevant in the fight, though, which is pretty impressive to say. Because, I mean, I think in all this kind of combat and all this contention going on, we're forgetting the fact that the Mustangs are still dealing with the substitute. I'm not going to go ahead and mention that point all night, but still, to go ahead and slot yourself in there and still make it a semi-close race, knowing that, I mean, this is where the real complications are going to come out. And Search and Destroy Hardpoint, sure, you have your 2s and your 2s to go ahead and know they're each independent kind of groups and where they're going to play on the map. But Search and Destroy is where you have to play collectively. I mean, regardless of where you are on the map, you have to sit there and find these pitches. You have to find these plays. You sit there and have to know who's going to plant the bomb, who's going to set up for that post plant, who's going to find those angles and hug which segments of the map. So this is where we're really going to have to see Western step up to say, look, we can't go ahead and back down without a fight. We're going right back to Tuscan. We know this map. We sat there and saw where they like to play, which is right there towards the middle and really just cutting us off. We need to adapt around this and keep it in mind here for the second map.
Well, it's not going to change in map. It's just going to change in mode. Tuscan Search and Destroy. A lot slower than the hardpoint for sure. But even still, those First Bloods, they can really open up a whole lot, even on a map like Tuscan. I mean, you look at the overextension that's going to come through maps, that P5 that you saw inside the hardpoint. If you lose that battle, it's going to open up a whole other bomb site. Or if you're on the defense, it's going to open up a whole opportunity to get in behind on a flank. Oftentimes, you're going to see teams off that attack get the quick plant to A. If you want to shake things up, the B site is definitely an option, but it's not really going to be the first option for a lot of these squads. So off the rip, if you're the Mustangs, I mean, you're looking to read this play from the Chargers, and you're looking to just shut them down and bounce back right off the rip.
Yeah, and you keep on saying it right off the rip, and it really gets me excited to sit there and think of how these two teams are based around horses, and it just comes down to who's the faster one on this attacking side. Who's going to get that bomb down so instantaneously that you have to react immediately as a defense, knowing that clock is already ticking in the opposing side, making sure that you just can't really think too much. You can't set up for something. You have to push, and you have to find an answer really to just get yourself that round. So as we can already see, the Chargers starting out on this attacking side, already getting that bomb down so quickly, but Carnage falls for the cause. So let's go ahead and see how this 3v4 really pans out for the side of the Chargers to go ahead and even out this hit.
Bomb down. Numbers for the retake. You can see Chargers kind of trapped inside this. Player number 3 watching the rotations, but it's going to be a 2-on-2 now for the slide. Susie finds Shadow Saloon for the 1-2 punch. And that's the retake that you're looking for the Mustangs. Zin last alive, not inside burning just yet. Pookie's going to be watching this, and Zin's able to find one. Bomb's laying down, finds 2, and he gets right back out. 16 seconds. Zin now in a power position to really shut things down. Goes back in for second. Zuzi just waiting for the player to come off from the flank, and he gets the kill onto Zuzi. No time for Mojo to find this defuse. Zin 1v4s for round 1.
A huge clutch up there. I mean, Zen, just knowing that bomb timer every single time, literally just making sure to use all the utilities, saying, I didn't invest any prior. Went ahead, sure, I can use myself a frag, but if I still have that stun, if I still have those hits, they have to go ahead and plant themselves, or at least defuse closer to the center. That's why I planted it in that spot where I can peek from the window, or at least my teammate did that dirty work for me, and we sat there and got the exchanges. And there it is. Chargers with a very, very impressive start out of them. And I want to see how Western Esports can really make this answer up so far, because knowing that the Chargers, they're attacking just from the little glance that we saw thus far, I'm really impressed, and I want to see a little bit more. But with the defense now coming out, we already see Shadow with a sniper in hand. I want to see how this can adapt across the map and really make himself relevant in these fights.
And makes another quick plan at A. This time, nobody loses a life early, so it's going to be a 4-on-4 for the retake. Into the middle of the map, Zin keeping things going in his own respective side. Opens up with first blood, doubles down onto Pookie.
Goodness gracious.
And now 2-life advantage, making a 3-life advantage. BPR and Shadow close the door on this round. A flawless retake over the Chargers. And they're going to go up 2-0.
Yeah, flawless was the key word I was looking for right there. I mean, all 4 players still standing. Everybody going ahead, playing it slow, and even then, Zip being at the head charge of that. I mean, still being the head of the snake. Sure, if you get rid of the guy, he's already done so much damage. He's already bit a couple of your players that by the time you go ahead and start to try and take care of him, the nerves are still kicking. The rest of his team is around to go ahead and follow up on that damage and make sure that, okay, well, we can obviously 3v2, or we at least should, unless we're him and we can win out that 1v4. But I mean, looking at the Chargers already just so quick about their answers, so quick about their plans, just really setting the tone for in the pace of this entire map thus far that Western needs to figure out how to slow things down. I mean, whether it comes down to an early frag onto that A side to make sure to, stall that plan a little bit, but we're not going to see that. We're just going to see a little bit of a stun. You get the intel, but where is the kill?
Oh, here's the nades, not on target. Nobody on the flank. No life advantage. It is going to be a good full brawl for the retake again. This time, Saloom takes down Zin. That's the opening you're looking for. Can't double down on the Carnage, so we're even Steven at 3. Still looking for an opening are the Mustangs. Pookie may have just found it. Takes down Carnage through that burning building. Now time to collapse on the rest of these, but 2 different fronts for the Chargers. Shadow disengages. The pistol's out. Zuzi on the snapper round. And Shadow a little bit ugly on the shots. Not able to get it done. It might not be as flawless as the Chargers retake, but Western, they get things done in round 3, and they put themselves on the board.
Yeah, still pretty darn good nonetheless when you sit there and look at the circumstances. Going ahead, find these even exchanges. You sit there, one guy takes a kill for the cause, but it really doesn't matter that much in the big scheme of things. So long as you find that round, you are not beat up about it. Your teammates are not stressing about kills. They're not saying, oh, this is what I could have done better. This is what I could have done here and there. You're saying we won the round. And that's what the rest of your squad is reinforcing. They were saying, don't go ahead and stress about it. Let's get ready for this next one. Because now we're on the attacking side once again, and we have to plant that bomb just as equally aggressive and find that answer. Make sure to get ourselves into a tie game. As it's still only a 1-2. So things really are up in the air, and it's still not really too out of the grasp of one side or the other just yet.
We haven't seen any fight back for these quick A plans at all. I think one thing that's different is nobody's watching the overextension throw map, so realistically, BPR has an open flank, but he's not going to take it. He's going to drop right through him well. You have middle map control. Zuzi watching that. BPR not going to check it, and in fact, shaky shots again from Zuzi this time. It's going to be 2 kills to open things up, 2 to answer back. 23 seconds. Shadow on that sniper still. You got Carnage to work with on the other side. Saloom has a sniper of their own, and up top Burning is going to find the better of Shadow trying to get to that bomb site. 11 seconds left. There's just no time for Carnage to make this play now. I mean, Mick, this is Western's chance to bring things back. They're going to even us up. And a big attacking round as well. New Haven, they find 2 in a row, but Mustangs, they say they can do exactly that.
Yeah, what I'm seeing out of both these squads as far as we're seeing all these fights just completely occur on the A side of the map. You have a completely opposing side of the map where you can set up for flanks. You can set up for stalls onto that bomb site. Where have we seen a fadeaway from P3 all the way to the opposite side of the truck from that bomb plant to sit there and throw a frag, or at least get the intel? Stop that player from rushing into church. Go ahead and at least get some kind of an idea. Paint a picture for your squad to figure out where these players are and really adjust accordingly. We have not seen any of that. Everything, once again, just a complete rush onto the A side, except for that one little Lone Ranger right there. BPR with the bomb in hand, but it's not going to matter because already 2 players for Western. Just going to fall instantaneously at the hands of Shadow.
Yeah, Shadow picking them off with the boomstick. Zin looking to close the door. Pookie goes down, leaving Zuzi last alive in a 1v4. Able to find Shadow, but now you can see the rest of these blue arrows surging on the lone position of Zuzi. As I think Carnage has the read on this as well. Zuzi's going to go up top Burning, looking to find this AR player that's set up and reads Carnage to a T. Open book situation, 4 HP, looking to wrap on back, 21 HP, or 21 seconds to get this clutch on board. A 1v4 clutch would be amazing, but doesn't check the right way. Gets knocked down. Zin gets the information, calls for the teammate to come and help out. And New Haven Chargers, they bounce back. They take their lead.
And even then to be expected, I mean, the Chargers going ahead playing that slow and steady, making sure to use a little bit more of the map there, stretching out a little bit more. But, I mean, every single time we still see the same old, same old. We're looking at these A pushes, and, I mean, every single round that we see an A push and a complete swarm onto that site, it just kind of makes me a little bit more disappointed of, like, when are we going to catch on to this? When as players are we going to see that nobody is pushing the other side of the map and it's going to be wide open? And I'm not going to sit there and just say we need to plant B. We need to see some diversity here when it comes around to the plants. A is the name of the game. I mean, when it comes on to Tuscan. Plain and simple. But finally, you see Shadow pushing up a little bit, getting aggressive, finding that first kill as well, and making it out scot-free.
Scot-free. There's one way to put it here. Zin. Not the same case for the Mustangs right now. Snaps around, he finds all 3.
Disgusting.
Oh, Zin's making it look so easy with the auto. That's going to be 2 rounds to answer back, and New Haven push their lead back to 4-2.
Yeah, I mean, just doubling down now, saying, look, we sat there, you get just 2 rounds, and now we know what your tricks are. You're doing the same thing we are. It is monkey see, monkey do right now, but we eventually have to go through human evolution, make our way into the human brain, and sit there and adjust around what you're doing, and we can get a pretty easy read that you're going to be pushing A every single time. So now with the Chargers being right on the attacking side, are they going to go ahead and set a new tone for the map? Are they going to switch things up? Well, that was a rhetorical question. They're going right back over to A once again, looking for that inside plan, and just, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, so I really can't blame them.
No, I mean, eventually you're going to think that a B hit's going to come through, but not this time. Pookie, for the overextension, does slip through, but the Chargers know that. Mojo answers first blood. Pookie still wants to dance with Carnage out here, but he's going to fall. 3v2, BPR sitting around this A site. Carnage in a position to watch this bomb, but Zuzi finds him through the middle of the map. They know where BPR is. Saloom on the hunt is going to take him down. Plenty of time for the defuse, and Mustangs are going to put 3 on the board.
And even then, a great setup there, just going ahead, finding the right picks, going ahead, pressure in the middle of the map, and you can see New Haven just being absolutely set up for it. They get really, really antsy in this post plant. It's like they're looking for kills. They want to close the round out as quick as possible instead of just playing for these angles, playing for the bomb, and making sure that it just doesn't get diffused. And that's what we saw out of Zen earlier in that first round. In that 1v4, that's where he excelled. He played for the long game. He sat there and sat slow and steady like a lion in the tall grass. But instead, now we're just seeing him pounce a little bit too quick, giving up his position, and all of his prey just scatters across and goes ahead and repositions around to have the upper hand in that case. But finally, if we're talking about positioning, we're seeing a new position on the map. B is going to come to life here. We're going to see a push onto this side of the map, and even then, it's only going to be a 4v1 is going to be lined up here. So I want to see exactly how we can see New Haven hold things out, and BPR with that first frag can definitely do something.
BPR with a second frag. And he's completely thrown this site to a loop. Pookie's going to drop inside that B area, and that's going to be bombed down now. Shadow finds the good timing on the last, and I like that you tried something new, but looks like the Chargers, they were ready for it, and they make it look good. A flawless round to bring them to map point.
Yeah, and even then, as much as I said B, and as much as I wanted to say that I wanted to see that side a little bit more, I guarantee Western probably isn't going to touch it again here, at least in this map alone. Going ahead and saying that didn't work out, we want to sit there and try something new, baby. Well, if it doesn't work, let's just not do it. Let's go right back to the A side. Problem is, the Chargers now know that they can win on that side of the map. They can make those adjustments, but even then, once again, they've already grabbed such a massive lead on the defending side and the attacking side on A alone that why not just go ahead and hit it once again? So pushing right up church, we're going to see Zen grab that first kill with that SMG, put the pressure on the map, create a little bit of an intimidation factor to say, can you push up? Can you contest this plant? Well, no, sir, you can't. A 4v3 on the board still. We now have a defuse that has to come out.
Can you stay in this in a 3v4? Stay alive inside Tuscan. Zen pushes through bottom church, pushes the lead in farther, 4v2. The Mustangs, no trade going to be out here. Zin's on the run, and Zin's getting away with highway murder right now. Shadow's going to find Pookie with that sniper rifle all the way deep in their spawn. Saloom last alive in a 1v4. And 21 seconds to make this happen. It just seems marginally impossible as New Haven Chargers, they're going to drop him, and they're going to move up 2-0 into the series. I mean, Tuscan was close here and there. You had Western fight back to bring it even 2-2, but I mean, the Chargers just kicked it back into another gear, and they closed things off in a hot 6-3 fashion.
And even then, I mean, Zen had to be a huge part of that. I mean, look at the guy. 14-4, 9 non-traded kills. I mean, Zen, it sounds a lot like Zim. And this guy's playing like Invader Zim. Already pushing into spawn, making sure you can't play the game all that much. Just being an absolute menace, a villain to the side of New Haven that they just really can't come up with something. When you're on that defending side, you're waiting for the answer. You're waiting to go ahead and get that bomb plant down, looking to slow the game down a little bit. But this guy's saying, look, if I pressure up while they're going ahead and coming up with a plan, while they're huddled up and trying to figure out something, if I just go ahead and pick them all off, they're going to have one less piece of the puzzle. They're going to have one less pawn to trade off. And that means we're always going to have the lead there. And I mean, it's sitting there and translated to rounds, and they close it out like that.
Mick, things translating into rounds here or there, it just makes me think of Zin in that first round with that 1v3.
Yes.
14-4 to end things off, 9 untraded kills. He had a fantastic game number 2 in his own right. That auto player, I mean, was on something else, but I mean, that first round, it's just tough to deal with if you're the Mustangs. And Pookie going 1-8 are just not numbers that you can have when going up against a team like the Chargers. I mean, the Mustangs now down 0-2. You're not having a good kind of showing inside of the hard point and the search and destroy. You're kind of getting slayed out in both factors now. Heading into a control, this needs to be where the Mustangs pull things back. But before we get into that, we're going to head to a break, Mick. And when we come back, we're going to get to see that third map between these two teams. So, folks, stay tuned. We got Cavite Control coming up soon. Welcome back to the Bravo stream. We got the Western Mustangs and the New Haven Chargers now going into map 3, a 2-0 lead for those Chargers. It's just, it's an insane couple maps out of this. This team looks like a fantastic squad going into the stage 2. The Mustangs playing with a substitute. We haven't really been able to see them hit their final form just yet today, Mick. And hopefully, I mean, I'm looking at the squad to bounce back now in this map 3 to see if they have what it takes. Let's take a look at the maps and modes that we've seen so far. Why don't you run us through the series?
I mean, already we've had ourselves a very quick one. Go ahead, get out your dapper attire. Go ahead and get all your money together to gamble on these horse races right now because these players are here and they are speeding through this entire series. Even though you go ahead and look at the lineup for the scores here, Chargers already in a 2-0 lead, winning out Tuscan, both those respective maps, as we said there mentioned earlier. It's somewhat of a sandwich where Gavutu, as you mentioned earlier, is the meat. That's going to go ahead and be all the sustenance, all the kind of beef where you want to throw it down, you want to grill it, and you want to eat it. And this is where Western really has to go ahead and get their fill. They have to step things up now, losing that 181 to 250 in the hard point, 6-3 in the search and destroy. They seem to be always a step behind, not too far behind, but I mean, with everything moving so fast and the adjustments being made from both these squads so instantaneously, I'm really, really impressed out of this, especially at a Western who's dealing with a substitute and still making themselves relevant thus far in at least every single one of these maps. But Control, you mentioned it earlier. Hardpoint, Search and Destroy, there's aspects of both of those modes being taken and kind of going into a really weird love child, which creates control. And seeing that Western really hasn't had the better of either one of those two opposite ends of the spectrum, control is looking a little bit desperate for him right now.
It is. And now we get to see if the Mustangs can find that one step to catch up to the Chargers, because after this, you got back to a hard point. You got to go through another Search and Destroy, and through all of that, Mick, you're going to have to make those adjustments from the start of the series. So this reverse sweep, I mean, it just gets harder and harder after this whole thing. So the Mustangs, the big question is, can you make those adjustments? Can you find that one step to kind of stand right next to the Chargers, kind of step up to their pace now and pick things up? I mean, Gavitu is a great place to bring this back. It's a flex player's playground, especially when you're bringing out that auto. It's a very strong gun to be repping, and if you can get into those power positions, if you can start slaying out, I mean, the Mustangs, they can go defense for defense. This is very much doable.
Yeah, you sat there and mentioned, I want to go ahead and touch on one thing that you said. You said one step to match them up. Problem is, that's not going to create a win here on a map. No. They have to go ahead and they have to take 2 steps up. They have to be a step ahead. Heck, at that stage, go ahead and start running away with the game, get so many steps ahead that you just go ahead and take away the series. That's what we have to see out of Western for them to go ahead and really create some light here for this reverse sweep. So a lot on the line here. You mentioned those power positions as well. They can't just get to them. They have to hold them down. They have to slay out on those. They have to manipulate and control those and capitalize on them to get themselves that control the entirety of the map. And the way we've seen the ARs play thus far out of the likes of Old Western, I like what Mojo has to offer. I think he's a very sufficient player. But when you look at the aggression, when you look at the Chargers or their SMGs, they're all over the place. They're like a batch of fire ants in the middle of South Georgia, and you just don't know where they're coming from. There's just so many hills. They can pop up anywhere, and you're just trying to figure out where is the next move coming from. You have to just exterminate the entire land at that point. And I feel like that's a lot for Western to handle, but it's definitely possible.
So much stepping, Mick. Let's see if first Western can step to the challenge. As Pookie's going to be leading this charge through the artillery gun. Zuzi to follow up. A nice 1-2 punch to slow down this hit to be. And Carnage, the last player going to be alive here, able to find Zuzi. But so far, so good from the Mustangs. Off the rip. They're able to close out on the attempt to be. And now eyes are going to be at the A zone.
Good exchanges already and good reads as well. Going ahead and station up towards that A side and towards that B, more likely to go ahead and get the read and say, look, players are pushing B first. They're looking for some kind of a wild card to be working off of, and they sit there and adjust around it. I mean, sure, it was a little bit of a gamble. It's a 50-50. You find yourself going to a default. Well, you can hold that down, have a life advantage, and make sure these exchanges go into your favor, and you're just playing off those. It's really good. But Chargers now coming up with an answer, having a 3-player slay out there and going ahead and creating some control across the map, and that's the name of the mode. You want that control. You want to push yourself onto the site. You want to accumulate that time, and you can see they've already found themselves a tick on A to really pay it off.
Oh, Zen, get it done with the pistol. No, Mojo's going to come to the rescue. Saloom gets to live to fight another fight. Only 1 tick going to be granted over at the A zone. Still lives, even Western, 1 life advantage. Off the respawn, the Chargers get right back into business inside of this boat. We're going to put that second tick under their belt, and BPR picking up Pookie. That's going to be a big opening now to possibly finish this A zone.
And even then, I mean, I think we've already seen Western kind of give up that A zone. You can already see him setting up for B, saying, look, we don't need to fight for A anymore. We've lost a little bit too many lives over there. The game is now even. It's 18-18, and you see the flank coming out from Carnage. But does he know about the flank to the flank? And for that on Western, that's just staying in spawn, essentially. So you can already see Saloom just playing it slow and steady, saying, look, somebody's going to go for something crazy. We have to be ready for this. I'll go ahead and take that sacrifice. Sit towards the back. I got to trust my teammates to hold down the site, and that's what they've done thus far. And he's just going to go ahead and frag down in the back now, going ahead and grabbing himself 1 more. So as Pookie falls in exchange there, not too much of a real dent to the likes of this defense, as you can still see that B is not going to be touched just yet.
No, look at the setup that Western has around the map as well. It's not going to be easy to break with the Chargers. But they're going to be taking this fight to the spawn. Crossfire from Pookie. Finds Shadow. Saloom takes down BPR. And Saloom's going to find a second as well into Zin. So completely shut out are the Chargers from that B hits. 3 down to bring Western now to 17-11 in lives. Carnage finally breaks the streak of white in the kill feed. And even still, though, what a hit to take. 15-10 in lives.
And just going ahead and making it that much closer, now 10-14. We can see the Chargers playing slow offense here, and I love every second of it. When you can go ahead and make those adjustments, say, look, we have 30 seconds left on the clock. Western is expecting us to just rush in with our heads cut off. We can't give them that. We can't give them that upper hand, but you can give Zuzi the power position to move up there towards that cannon, able to go ahead and grab 2 kills to really go ahead and create the catalyst for setting this round up. But, I mean, with the rest of the Chargers now making themselves on the side, going ahead, looking for halfway through this second tick, they're going ahead and developing some time, but can they develop the kills to really create that space, create the round, and give themselves that lead? And with 6-8, there is almost nothing left on the table here for the Chargers.
Oh, PPR.
Only 2 respawns remaining.
Saloon finally gets them done. I mean, Carnage went from 0 to hero in that, but 24 seconds and no respawns remaining for the Chargers to hit this site. 18 seconds. I mean, do you even want to take a swing at this one, or do you want to keep your lives at what they're at? Carnage looks like it's going to be a yes so far. You see these players on Mustangs just waiting for an opportunity to kind of pounce at that. Carnage gets a snap onto Saloon, but it's not enough to get to the site. Zen's nowhere in a position to touch down, in Western, even though they lose the A zone, they still walk away with the round.
And a pretty good equalizer there towards the rear of the round. You make sure the lives are kind of differentiated once again. You saw an even exchange, and you sat there and see the lives ending out at 1 and 4. And even though we saw it earlier be a little bit closer than that and a little bit more stressful as we saw Western kind of go ahead and grab those last 3 kills. So to go ahead and make sure things were really going to be evening out. You can see Zen grabbing that last shot before everything really came to a close. But I mean, everything coming out from Western. I think you just play it slow here. You make sure to have the life advantage. You lost only by 3, and you know that Western is looking for an answer. They're trying to double down. They're trying to grab the lead here. Take advantage of that aggression. Make sure they're blindsided and find those kills. But, I mean, if anything, we see the Chargers being blindsided as B's already being taken and has a double stack as well with 1 tick.
Shadow breaks through the wall. Saluma team kill. And that's going to allow Zen to now push the advantage into there, but on the front, still 2 ticks are going to be locked down, working on the third. BPR now a little bit of a Hail Mary push to try to shut this play down. Zuzi isn't going to get it done, so he needs to take this last fight into BPR. Slides on out, but not able to get the 3rd tick under their belt. So they get good 2 ticks at B. Lives even at 25, Mick, but a minute 5 on the board.
Even then, look at Western's setup. They're looking for so much mid control right now, and I like this. Just going ahead, filling out the map, seeing what kind of intel they can grab to say they're worried about B, but we still have to push A. They know we're going to go ahead and make somewhat of a split now. Are we going to go ahead and go to the other side of the map, or are we going to go ahead and hit that site, make sure to complete it, and grab that extra minute of time? Well, honestly, A wouldn't be all that bad of an idea. When you know they're going to be isolated, so much pressure towards B and so much concern towards that side of the map, you make sure to take advantage of it. Find those kills, and that's exactly what the Chargers are doing.
Carnage up top. Looking off the rest of these players. Time stopped at 45. And here comes the retake from Chargers. Good as ever. Zen's going to take down the player on the inside. So 1 tick at A, 2 ticks at B. And it looks like the Mustangs now, they have to go for the A side here. 3 players down. Chargers are going to drop on the A zone. So that's going to allow the Mustangs to stop this clock at 30 and see if they can stack this A zone.
And even then, it's looking like a really successful attempt thus far. You don't have a double stack, so you're not really having all that really snappy progress, but it doesn't matter. You still find the kill. You can clear out that space. You now have 2 ticks of progress on both sides of the map. So this puts the Chargers in a really bad scenario to say, well, now how do we answer things? We couldn't really sit there and hold down B. We already lost 2 ticks there, and A is now literally getting out of our grasp and is going to be closed out. But you do see the contestation come through. You have to find this kill, but BPR can find it on his own. But now A is closed out. You find yourself an extra minute of time. 1 minute 28 and 15 lives remaining here on the attacking side for Western, looking outstanding thus far.
I mean, Gabatu's looking like Western's bread and butter at the moment. Not often do you see an advantage on offense, but these days it has been looking like teams have been making leaps and bounds on this map to make it their own. 13 lives to 10. Zuzi finds 1 through the middle. It's going to be the trades, though, to keep them in control of artillery. Nice shots from Mojo. Forces in to hit the deck. 59 seconds. You have a 12 lives to 8 advantage. And Mojo still has a streak to use if you want this. We might be able to see this invested if they want to take a swing at this, but Mojo's losing a lot of teammates around the outside. It's a full 4 down for the Chargers to take back control.
Even then, I mean, just look at the setup here. I mean, everything at a stalemate right now. You just have to find one more tick of progress towards that B side, but What's the approach here? We see Western going ahead looking for so much space towards that A site, but you already know that BPR set up for it. You had to find this kill if you're Saloom, and you can definitely manage it. You need to find this flank. You have to find it quickly at that, knowing that you still have respawns. It's sitting in a 5v5, 20 seconds left on the clock. You have to touch the site, and everybody's storming down the beach, down the shore right now, and you may be able to go ahead and manage it.
2 lives for the Chargers to make this happen. BPR looks the wrong way. Saloom's going to find him. Now Zin last alive. Can you 1v4 to put this round away? Saloom's going to be coming to make it a no, but now they know where Zin is. The rest of the players are going to be adjusted into this positioning, but while this fight's happening, the B side gets captured. Zin goes down anyways, and the Western Mustangs 2-0 in Cavite. This is the resurgence that we were asking for, Mick.
Yeah, you definitely, I mean, I want to go ahead and kind of talk about something you said earlier. This is looking like their bread and butter. Well, thing is, as time goes on, bread and butter kind of go ahead and get expired. I want to sit there and compare them to whiskey and scotch. The more time you give them on this map, in this environment, the better they are looking. They are aging. They are just looking outstanding this far and looking so much better as we can really get to see them develop here. I mean, sure, we have the substitute in, but he is sliding right in. I mean, looking outstanding this far. You couldn't tell a single differential from the squad from, I'm sure, the rest of the season, and especially on control to win an attacking side. That's really answers that you never see out of either side.
Well, now the Chargers, they got to answer back with an offensive round of their own. This is going to a hard point. Pookie down the stairs, finds Carnage. Trade from Zin, but no pressure onto the A zone anymore until 2 kills go the way of Chargers, maybe leading to an avenue inside this. BPR takes down Saloom, and it looks like Shadow is going to double back. Hop in this, stops the clock at 55 seconds. You see a big fight at Azuzi in the backline, just kind of being an irritating player, trying to force these players back and see if they can draw these lines a little bit thin, but it's not really amounting to a whole lot. You still have the Chargers inside the boat, and you still have them putting this A zone away. You need Zuzi to come back here. You need them to close out on things. Pookie's able to take care of the players on the inside, but here comes Zuzi around the back, finds BPR, 1 player left on that boat.
Oh! And can manage another one there, and you already see the Chargers now being down 3 players. I mean, that goes ahead and equalizes things. That sets the precedent now for the likes of Western to go ahead and say, we now have a lead in lives. We were looking pretty desperate there for a second, but, I mean, plays like that, you sit there and bring the pressure to the back. You turn your players around. The Chargers now have to turn their back to the side, and they have to turn their backs to the side as well. I mean, there's so much going on right now that Western is setting up that they are looking like they can find themselves a flawless round when it comes around to this third. I mean, they sat there looking great on the first defense, but this one's looking that much better. So many kills. And even then the Chargers find a team kill. You just can't really have an intimidation factor making you choke up that much. It's now 17 seconds left of the clock. Western going ahead looking like they can secure this down, but the Chargers, they have to find an answer in quickly.
Zuzi's cutting off the players on the front line. You take care of the player to B, A site. Carnage is going to get in there, stops the clock at 14 seconds, wins the fight on Saloom as well. Nade's going to be flushing him on out. Very weak Carnage on the inside. Here comes Zuzi, but Carnage going big inside A. Trying to keep his team alive inside of this game number 3, but as he falls, it's really going to put the pressure onto the rest of the Chargers to get back into things. They get onto the A zone. Looking to snack this one, push this another minute. 8 lives to 17 in minute 5.
Oh, and already capturing that A site. I mean, that's so much pressure there. And sure, I understand Western's kind of mentality here, saying we are now up 8 lives. That is 2 entire respawns for every single one of our team members. Look at how well we're slaying out right now, making sure to play out our lives. And we can sit there and buy out these 49 seconds. The Chargers are going to be extremely slow for these approaches. Go ahead, give it about 15 seconds for every single push, or even attempting for that push. And we sit there and win that ratio every single day of the week. So, I mean, L plus ratio, go ahead, Chargers. Throw out whatever you want to, but, I mean, it may not really go ahead and create anything here for you.
And, you know, the big question after that is, can the Chargers even find the round? Mustangs just saying, don't care, didn't ask.
Yeah. I mean, even then.
23 seconds to kind of make this last push happen. 5 lives to 13 just seems like such a hard position to really bring this one back, Mick. But 3 kills go their way. Saloom's going to get dropped from behind. Shadow's going to be able to hop into this B zone. And now this is definitely the last chance to keep this happening. No respawns remaining for these Charger players. Here come the Mustangs. They take out 1 3v10. Shadow taking some pressure. His strafing run's not going to find him. Saloom finds Carnage up top. Got Zin now all alone watching over this player, but he's going to lose out on the player on the inside. Now Zin last alive, finessing his life around ring. Able to find Saloom at least, but there's just no time to make this happen at all. And Western Mustangs are now going to push us to a map 4.
Wow, that is the second control we've seen a turnaround for tonight, and especially with the likelihood of what we've seen out of Western Esports. I mean, I loved every second when I saw him on control. I mean, we sat there. I think it was more of a lackluster feel from the side of New Haven than what we saw out of an impressive showing from the likes of all the Chargers. I mean, look at the way the Chargers really didn't get themselves that many kills. Shadow going 7-24 in this one. Zen, the player that we highlighted and said was an absolute menace. I mean, the head of the snake, the fangs of the snake, and the tiger. I mean, just there was so much pressure there and so much threatening and just menacing energy out of that guy that it all completely diminished in this one map alone. That you're sitting there saying, he went from a huge lion, now he's looking like a teddy bear because we just shut the guy out and he just really couldn't play the game.
This is exactly what we wanted to see out of the Mustangs, Mick.
It is.
You know, just a strong map to bring them back. Well, you wanted to see, you know, just them to keep it competitive, just like something small to show that they have what it takes with a substitute, but they do one better. They take both steps to get ahead of the Chargers inside of that control. They take over map 3 completely. They win an offensive round as well, and a 3-0 sweep now to push into a Berlin hardpoint. You had all 4 players playing on the same level for the Mustangs, and realistically, nobody was skipping a beat.
No.
Everybody was getting the job done. Everybody dared to go the distance, and now the Mustangs, they have opened the door to an opportunity to reverse sweep.
Yeah, they most definitely have, and that's all really comes down to. You want to make sure to start things. You want to find that kindle to the flame. You want to go ahead and find that ignition, and then once you finally go ahead and set up all these resources, get everything piled up, you need to set that aflight, and you need to make sure to go ahead and secure that and burn this entire rig down. And you can sit there and see them trying to set up for that, trying to go ahead and create the tone of the game. Say, now you are in our court. We are now the ones going ahead, creating this momentum, setting the pace for this entirety. Problem is, we're going now to a completely opposite double down once again. And I think maybe when it looks to playing momentum and going and setting up for new maps, we sat there and saw Tuscan being in the kind of ball field of the likes of the Chargers. But, I mean, the Mustangs, we got to see them adapt here. We got to see some massive AR plays out of them, knowing that Berlin is a very, very long course map. But for Hardpoint, this is where your SMGs can definitely shine and create some relevancy.
I said it on the weekend when we were watching Challengers, Mick. I'm saying it again here. In Call of Duty, a little bit of momentum could go a long way. And heading into, like you say, another double down situation where we get 2 Berlins in a row, if Mustangs can keep up this momentum from the control into the hard point, I mean, that search and destroy, it's going to be completely different than the one that we saw in game number 2. Berlin, a completely different map than Tuscan. Yes, it's going to follow the same fundamentals, but map control's going to be huge when you do come down to the rotations inside this hard point. And the fact that we saw the submachine gun players turning up for Western inside of that control, they're going to be looking to run this again inside this hard point.
Yeah, problem is they're just going to find the right setups for that. They got to make sure to go ahead and be looking for these spawns because you have to have that one player allocated to that exact job. That is going to be their responsibility for the entirety of the map. And knowing that Berlin, you don't have to worry about it. You go ahead, you do your job, you do your due diligence, you make sure to back it up and search and destroy, saying, oh, great, now I can play with the team. Now I can be that team player. I was playing Rogue earlier. I was all by my lonesome. I was a lone survivor just going ahead and taking a nice little hike across the map to go ahead and create these little post boards for the rest of my team to sit there giving directions to the site. But you need to set that up for something. We have to see Western manipulate that. We have to see them really carry that on, that same ideology, and translate that into search and destroy as well. So a lot to be asking out of them, but from the way we saw their control, it's definitely within their ballpark. They could definitely make the possibility of this. They could definitely do it. We just have to see the adjustments being made because their hard point really wasn't there. We saw them fighting for a lot of scraps. We saw really kind of some lackluster pushes out of them and just going ahead and being on the rear end. And once again, as we mentioned earlier, always being a step behind. So now that they found themselves a step ahead, we're going to go right back to that analogy. Can they run away with it? And I feel like this map alone will let us know.
I mean, we talked about them stepping up to the challenge inside that game 3. They've been there. They've done that. And let's see if they have what it takes to, like you said, run away with things. BPR on screen right away. It's going to be Chargers with the favored spawns. Hopping into this for the initial time. Zinner on the outside is going to get traded out, but that's going to call for BPR to fly on out. Trade out Zuzi. Now push for the respawns of the Western Mustangs. Saloon gets into this, so still a battle inside this office hill for time. Saloom hits the deck, waiting for the reinforcements to come on through. Pokey comes out to the rescue, is able to find Shadow. BPR trying to get into things, but it's 3 down for the Chargers, and the Mustangs successfully break.
And even then, it all comes down to those SMG players. We sat there and saw a mighty tango out of all the SMG players from both sides sitting there saying, all right, this is the time we get to show off our movement skills. How long can we survive a huge gunfight like this and, 4 players all flooding onto one side, 2 of each opposing side with nothing but just a lot of wooden covers behind us and maybe 2 impenetrable walls. So we already see that P1 expire, and we see now the rotations coming out for P2. And what do you know? A little bit of a differential here. Western to be the first one on the site, but the Chargers already finding the answer, finding the kills to back it up.
Yeah, Zuzi gets initial, but it's going to be up to the teammates to push this into more. Run the outside, Zin. Looking to stay alive. Saloom spots him out. 2 for 2 now inside this hill. So BPR up top. Pookie spots him out. 3 down for the Chargers. Western now in a smooth position to start collecting time. You still have some pressure from player number 8, Carnage, but he's going to get dropped as well. So now Western able to set up in these power positions, shut down the rotations of the Chargers as they funnel one by one towards the front of the hill, and they are getting things done now. 52 seconds. You still got 20 to collect.
And even then, man, I mean, look at the scoreboard so far. This is a 3v3. I mean, Shadow and Mojo both really not having any objective time at all. Not really finding themselves a kill either. But Mojo finally wakes up and says, there's the taste of blood. Now I remember what it tastes like. I want a little bit more of it. So I don't blame the guy. You need to get with the rest of your team. You need to go ahead and carry away with this game, because now you sit there and look at the leaderboard. It's now sitting at 72-12. You have a 60-point lead, an entire site accumulated as a lead just thus far. So that is a lot of breathing room, a lot of time for you to come up and conjure a plan, but you may not even need it. If you're slaying out like this with Saloom on the outside with that MP40, you don't need to concern about a thing.
And Saloom 8-0 to open this up. Full streaks for the SMG. But New Haven now looking to still put pressure in for the last 33 seconds. Bar, BPR, and Zin, they find full 4 down. You still got the spawns in the back for the Mustangs, but now you have to be careful. You don't want to get pinned back here, so looking to make your way around, trap out the Chargers, and make this look relatively smooth for the retake. But realistically, what I want to see, I want to see them start rotating here. They're taking another swing at this for the last 15 seconds when the Chargers, they're already high and dry over at that train yard here. Shadow, ready for next.
I mean, you've literally given over this entire money hill. Knowing the spawns are so close to the side, you've completely given it up. Look at Shadow, not even worried about the site, saying, I got my teammates to back it up. We will let Western literally kill us here, because that is a free cross going entire to the map. We don't have to run that distance. It is literally provided to us because we already have a teammate setting up for that. And that's what I mentioned earlier, is who's going to have that one player to set up for these spawns, make those plays, and really get the read on the map. And it looks like the Chargers right now to really breathe some life into a comeback here. With 30 seconds still left on the 35 at that, they can find themselves a lead theoretically as well if they just have a flawless hold so far.
Well, the Chargers have looked fantastic going into this rotation. They collect a good sum of points, but Mustangs had the response. They were able to hit this once more. Saloom now in the pace to collect the rest of the scrap time, but he's going to go down. And now Mustangs spawning up all the way deep inside fire. They're looking to set up in these power positions, take control of P5, and Mick heading into this P5. You don't really see a lot of times, or a lot of time collected inside this hill, but with the way that the Mustangs are set up, you got to be careful if you're the Chargers.
You most definitely do, and I mean, even then, looking at the likes of all these players, you finally see Shadow grabbing a kill there with the MP40, having a little bit of a weird setup where you see usually a kind of a sniper's nest for those assault rifles, but I mean, nonetheless, it's still pressure onto that site. You're still getting the intel. You're still letting your team know that saying, I'm not really pressuring for these kills. I'm not really looking for blood just yet. I'm looking to go ahead and collect time because that's what we need. We need 20 more seconds so we get ourselves a tie game. With 35 on the board and on this side alone, we can find the lead here. So let's work for that first before we go ahead and start fluffing our KD. And you can even see him swiping things out. They're not worried about the site because, I mean, BPR is going off alone on his own, saying 12-12 right now.
Yeah.
I'm dying, but I'm also going ahead and trading things every single time. I'm getting mine. You need to get your time to back it up.
Step by step, they plod themselves back in. We get a lead change into this fifth hill. 100 points for the Chargers to the 95 of the Mustangs. And on the rotations, Mustangs are going to be the first one set up. Can they lock things down? Saloom, big win inside P3. There's still another player to deal with, and fighting battles on both fronts. There's Western Raid now, and it's full 4 down. What a clean break out of the Chargers.
Okay. You definitely see a little bit of a change of pace here for the Chargers. Going ahead and turning things up, saying, look, now you are in our court. We sat there, messed around long enough. We go ahead. We were just kind of soft throwing. We were toying with our prey for a little while now. Things are time to step up. We won that hard point pretty aggressively that last time. We were the first one onto every single site, and we really didn't give it up too much until it came around to that last 15 seconds. Let's go ahead and do it again. Why sit there and do something different this time around? Sure, it's a different map, but doesn't mean we had to be a different team. Find themselves a lead now of 28 seconds, and you still, Western Esports, can't find the answer. I would blame the Chargers to go ahead and say, let's set up for next. Let's go ahead and grab this rotation. Let's go ahead and create these stalls in the middle of the map. Go ahead and create these road bumps and these speed bumps at that, and make sure they can just not really play the game as fast as they want to. And I think it all comes down to Carnage now sitting at 20 and 11. The guy has stepped up. He's come to life because BPR was the man earlier, but Carnage doing exactly what his name entails.
120 to 129. Basically even going into the second hill. Zuzi, big read with help of Mojo to feed that information. Carnage looking to cut off these rotations, but he doesn't get there in time, so it allows Mojo to get in for the break. Still the contention could be out here. Pookie, big one-on-one against BPR, but he's got a teammate.
Ooh, even.
And the trade's still back and forth right now, Mick. Inside of this mail room, nobody in a position to really set up comfortably. You got Western fighting from the front. New Haven locking it down from the better spawn. Zin gets in here to kill Zuzi. Still more battles to take out. Snaps to 3 in a row. And Zin coming alive now in P2.
With the little wombo combo coming out as well, saying thank you for the MP40. I'm going ahead and I'm making my way inside now. I can go ahead and clear these corners. I can get aggressive. I can have the quicker ADS speed now, and I can go ahead and swing wherever I want to, because the Automaton doesn't really fit my playstyle when I'm inside fighting for the site. So you can see him going ahead, capitalizing on that, finding a lead. I mean, the likes of Carnage and Shadow just pushing up now fighting a lot more time. Zen especially, I mean, we can't forget that man. He is the one stepping up so far. Every single player of the Chargers right now have had their own highlight reel in this one map alone, and they need to translate that into time, because now the game is evened up once more, and with how outstanding they are in the slaying department, where's the translation to points? We haven't seen them touch the site enough to really back that up.
Shadow wins the fight on the back line, still in for the contention. Carnage takes out Mojo. He's still got the spot for the Mustangs, but now set up, arguably the Chargers inside of P3. You're going to need it to get a break soon for the Mustangs, because you know that you are still in this. And Zuzi, Pookie, they get the job done. A stun on Saloom. It's going to be a full 4 down to break back in for scrap time. Now, it's a race to this P4. Mick, last time around, Chargers, they were the first ones here, but you didn't get a lot of time off of it if you were really either squad. It was very up in arms.
It most definitely was, and we're seeing a heck of a lot more arms now. Every single player really just going ahead and pitching their weight, and that's what I'm loving now. Every single player is waking up. Shadow not really being kind of in the fray just as much as everybody else, but Mojo, that player we were keeping our eyes on for Western, going ahead and evening things out. Playing out his life, not really going ahead and pushing the site and making sure to go ahead and have that 3v4 all the time, but, I mean, making sure to go ahead and play his life safe. Set up for these spawns, not touching the site, not touching these kills. Not even worried about it, though, because the rest of his team, like Saloom right now, with this MP40 in hand, looking to just pressure this site. He can definitely do the job on his own, so just give him that space and let him work with it.
Saloom's doing so much in the back, and the teammates coming in to follow up. You get the break back in now. Are you going to be ready for Zin in the back? Saloom gets the raid, but can't find the kill. Still in for time, but still trades in the kill feed, so nobody in a comfortable position. 15 seconds left on this hill, going into P5. This is where the Chargers were able to bring themselves back into the first set of rotations. But Mick, now that they're in the lead, this is the danger zone for the Mustangs.
It most definitely is, and even then, I mean, with the way the Chargers are playing this far, you just got to see the rotations, you got to see the setups, you got to see these groups, these 2 and 2s, making sure to each do their part. And we can see Western doing that exactly. Having the assault rifles position up towards that warehouse. The other 2, the SMGs, pushing up on the site, make sure to hold these close quarters. Play ring around the rosy. We're going back to our childhood days. We're just going ahead and we're counting up 1 second at a time, all on our fingers, as we sit there and see that the Chargers are also counting down. They now have 41 points. Make that 40. It's going to keep on ticking if you don't touch that site just yet. And this could also be the closeout to the game.
Saloom, big 2. Keeping New Haven out of this hill. 27 seconds still to fight for. And you can see the Mustangs setting up for another hit here. Zuzi's going to go down. Pookie not finding the trade. Shadow, big 2 to shut that down. So the last 20 seconds, this is looking comfortable for the Chargers, but you can't allow this time to go through. Carnage with the crossfires finding Mojo, so a lot of time collected here for the Chargers. This is now looking like the victory lap for New Haven, looking to put this away in 4.
You can already see him setting up for this. Western grabbing a little bit, maybe 2 seconds on that last site, because the Chargers have already abandoned it. Sure, 2 of their players are dead, but they're saying, we don't care about that. We are playing this game extremely slow, have the setup on the outside, and wait for a breach. Well, There's Zuzi on the
Zuzi.
outside, able to go ahead and find two, just completely creating a stall, fighting through those kills, and Saloon to back him up as well. So creating a massive halt in the plans here in the likes of the Chargers. They need to go ahead and set up for this once again, but they have to have the intel for the last run around. There's players on site. You see the site glowing white. How are you going to come up with this answer? Well, you breach it. You find the kills, and you start counting down once again, because you can make the finish right here, right now.
13 seconds left. Mustangs, they got to put the pedal to the metal. You have a flank coming up from two players, Zuzi and Saloom. Saloom finds a big two. Into the hill, though. He gets traded out. Still time collecting. You need these trades to come through. Mojo finds Carnage, but a race to P2. You can see that New Haven, they have the win condition, Mick. They know what they need to do, and they're ready for the second hill to pop up. Shadow takes down Saloom. Pokey trying to hop into the window. Has Zuzi to help them up. A crossfire is going to be set up here, but this could be it. New Haven, they just need one good break.
And it definitely looks like they're looking for it. Problem is, time is ticking down for Western, and they're almost in the same exact shoes. This isn't anybody's game right now, because this one last side is all it comes down to. As the whole score gets that much even, it's now sinking to 234 to 245. I mean, everything is up in the air right now, but New Haven find the clear. The time is ticking down. Can Mojo make the play? He goes around the corner, doesn't find the kill. That's New Haven taking the series.
It got so close at the end there, but New Haven just so far ahead of the Mustangs. They had the win condition in turn. They just needed one good break, and they forced themselves in to clear out this series 3-1 at the end. What a Berlin out of both teams.
Yeah.
I mean, Mustang, they really brought it all out. With a substitute as well, you look at these stats, Mick, and it really shows how hard these two teams fought for this win. It wasn't easy for New Haven like it was in that Tuscan. It was a lot harder of a game in the second half of the series. But even still, you got Zin and Carnage both dropping 30 kills on on each other. And you got 23 non-traded kills as well from the both of them, so putting up some pretty big numbers.
Yeah, and I feel pretty bad here for the likes of Western. I mean, you sit there and got to look at the hill time for both these players. We sat there, and I put a lot of influence on two guys, Mojo and Shadow, for the majority of that map right there, just to go ahead and say, look, if you're not fragging out, you need to make yourself useful. Either go for spawns or go for hill time. Well, obviously, we can see exactly which avenue the player chose. Shadow chose going for hill time, and he eventually found himself to get a little bit warmed up, but he sat there and played out his life. His teammates were there to back him up. But, I mean, looking at Western, it looks like Saloom did everything. 24 and 25, 2 minutes and 20 seconds of hill time alone out of this one guy. I think whenever they go back through and watch his VOD, he's like, are you serious? Do I have to do everything around here? And I feel low-key kind of bad for the guy, but even then, I mean, the standing thus far for Western to get even to that stage, to go ahead and grab that control, everybody went ahead and lifted their own weight. You just got to find the even distribution in every single map, in every single mode, and that's the diversity. That is the adversity that it comes around in the likes of Call of Duty, to where knowing that, sure, you can go ahead and find a round, but you got to find two more to get yourself the series, especially in a reverse sweep scenario.
Let's take a look at the maps that we got throughout this. Talk a little bit about what we got through both of these teams, because me and you, our first look at New Haven Chargers, and this team looks damn good. 250 181 in Tuscan Hardpoint, 6-3 in Tuscan Search and Destroy. Gavatu, it's definitely an instant veto next time around for the squad. But you go back to Berlin, you get things done. It was close. It was a 15-point game, but you close it out in 4. I mean, this team really impressed me throughout everything. The resilience out of the Chargers definitely brought them back inside that Berlin. And if they clean up, you know, a little bit on that map, it could definitely be home to a very strong situation for the squad.
It most definitely could. And even then, kind of to go back to that control, to go ahead and mention the weaknesses. Because, I mean, obviously, we can see the strengths here on the scoreboard right now. Knowing what they can really slay out. They can play the game. They can go ahead and be really fast with their pushes. Even on Search and Destroy, I mean, those rounds were just flying by. We even mentioned in the intermission, talking about, like, this is one of the fastest series we felt has passed by. And it still wasn't just a blowout by any means. I mean, sure, Control, we're not going to talk about that too much. But, I mean, Control was also kind of each team's respective kind of lackluster mode. We saw 3-3 and 4-2. Those are pretty even numbers. We didn't see, you know, a 6-0 or, you know, a 5-1. We sat there and didn't see dominance. We saw even plays across the board. So that was definitely Western's opportunity to strike, to say, look, this is the one map that we can take. Let's go ahead and start things and play it out from there. And it definitely brought life to them, as even then in that second map when they went to Berlin and things were looking good, it wasn't impossible, and it was extremely close at that. And they could have found themselves to map 5 if they just had 5 more seconds on the clock. Thing is, it's Call of Duty, man. Everything is split second, and if you go ahead and make that mistake, you can adjust on the fly like that. Those 5 seconds will cost you an entire series.
It's going to cost a whole lot in this one as we end out 3-1. That's going to be all she wrote for our second match of the day here on the Bravo stream. Coming up next, folks, we got GVSU, Grand Valley State University, going up against Northeastern University on the Bravo stream. To take over for me is going to be Rome, but once again, you are going to see Mick. So we're going to head to a break. We're going to get everything set up, and when we come back, more College COD for you. We'll see you in a bit.